Hey, Chandler Bolt here, and in this video I want to talk about really a core concept, core principle, fundamental belief for me as a person, and also a big belief and kind of core concept in self-publishing school. So the concept is about how to bloom where you're planted. Okay, so this is something that my parents kind of ingrained in me and taught me all growing up. And so what I'm going to do in this video is kind of overview of the concept, and then do the application to self-publishing school. So first things first, so what does this mean? So really, I just remember all growing up, my parents, they said, hey, you've been given gifts, you've been given opportunities, make the most of those opportunities. Now, I'm a Christian, I grew up in a Christian home, so they said, hey, look, God's giving you these opportunities, you need to be a good steward of those opportunities. So whether you believe in that or the universe or anything else, and you say, you have been given opportunities, make the most of those opportunities. And really the principle behind that is never feel like or think that you are better than the opportunities that are in front of you. Because if you do, you won't you won't do a good job of doing the thing, and then also you won't get better opportunities, right? So I mean, there's obviously the principle in the Bible about where he gave different amounts of money or shillings to different people, and to those who were good stewards, he gave more, right? So kind of the whole concept is being a good steward of the gifts or opportunities that are given to you and making the most of them. So I just remember all growing up, my parents said, hey, if you're sweeping the floors, you be the best floor sweeper that ever existed, and you do that better than anyone else, right? Or to the best of your ability, right? So this ties into a lot of our other core values, and especially best is a standard. So you have a standard that you set for yourself, and you always, no matter what, deliver to that standard, and you never look ahead and beyond what you're doing right now. But just because you feel like you're better than that, or that this is below you or anything, because at any time that catches hold, where you do think you're better than the position that you're in, you're going to stop doing a good job, and you won't get given other opportunities, right? And now, kind of one of the underlying principles here is not just so that other people will notice, okay? Because some people say, oh, I'm gonna do a good job when other people are around. And then I'll be given other opportunities. So I'm going to be a good steward, or I'm going to bloom where I'm planted, but especially when people are watching. No, that doesn't matter. And this is really something that my parents kind of instilled in me. It doesn't matter who's watching. You do it to the best of your ability, and people will notice. And it might be in the most random situations, right? So for me, probably the biggest challenge is when I go to a speaking gig and there's hardly anyone in the room, right? And I have to make a decision in that moment at the beginning of my talk. Doesn't matter if there's 5 people here, 30 people here, whatever. I am going to bloom where I'm planted. I'm going to give the best dang speech that I've ever given. And you never know, right? There's so many stories and examples of musicians or people who performed to a really small crowd, and little did they know there was someone in that crowd that could give them their next break. And there was someone there that, that could really help the trajectory of their life. So this is just such a fundamental principle for me, to never look ahead and to maximize what's right in front of you. Right? Now, does that mean you don't have goals? Of course not. Does that mean you don't have a plan and you don't have next steps and you don't see where you're going? Of course not. You have those things, but where that becomes dangerous is when you looking out here impedes your ability to execute on what's right here. Right? So of course, we have goals, we have a direction, we have a path that we're on. But when we're looking past what's right in front of us, and we're not making the most of what's right in front of us, that's when we miss the point. And not only are we not fulfilling our purpose, and not only are we not being a good steward of the opportunities and the gifts that are given us right here, but we're also sabotaging our ability to move on to those things. Right? And this is kind of where I'll transition into how this applies to self-publishing school. So you guys know there's no shortage of opportunities inside the company. And really the people who get those opportunities are the people who look right in front of them, and they are always being a good steward of the opportunities that are given to them, and they're making things better. And always saying, how can I make this thing the best that it could possibly be, not just better than it was before, right? And that's a subtle difference. But when we talk about best as a standard as it relates to being a good steward, it's not, oh, well, this is better when that other person was doing this, so it's a step up. No, is this the best that I can do? right? And am I absolutely maximizing this and really blooming where I'm planted with that opportunity? And so when I recognize that in other people, I'm willing to give them the next opportunity, right? And so not only does it pay to maximize like really what's in front of you, but also, and this is I think counterintuitive for some people. So I'm being a good steward of what's right in front of you, but I'm also creating and systematizing it so that other people could replicate my results. Right? Because then if I'm not just trying to look out for myself and job security and all that stuff, because it's really funny how kind of backwards this is, where if I try to make it to where only I can do it, it actually prevents me from being promoted. So not only am I not being a good steward of what's been given to me, I'm not blooming where I'm planted, but I'm actually making it harder for me to get other opportunities. Right? So no matter your role, no matter your position, no matter the task, we all have things. We all have opportunities right in front of us that we need to make the most of, right? And I know a mentor of mine, he always talked about kind of the 15 to 20% suck factor, which he said that, in any job, you're going to have things that you don't like to do, right? And he's the CEO of his own company. He's a speaker. He's all this stuff. He's like, I thought there would be this magical day where I got promoted up into, or, not promoted because it's his company, but I reached this level where I didn't have to do things that I didn't want to do. And then I realized that you'll never get there, right? There's always things that I have to do that I might not want to do, right? And so I think that shows up in all of our roles where there is that 15% suck factor, where even for me today, and I think for anyone on the team, where there's things that you might not want to do, or it might be a repetitive task that you've been having to do for a year, 16 months, 18 months. There's things that I've been doing for years that I don't necessarily want to do. I know it's something that I need to do. And in order to be a good steward of what's been given to me and the opportunities that's been given to me, in order for me to lead by example for other people on the team, those are things that I need to execute to the best of my abilities, right? So when it comes to being a good steward, blooming where you're planted, not only will that it really just create a great culture in others, a great culture in the team. It creates the ability for you to get promoted. There's just so many things that kind of coexist within that. Now I'll kind of take the home stretch here. Whereas I feel like, as a small company, sometimes people can look to the org chart and think that they've capped out. Right? And then either they get demotivated or they're wondering, hey, what's next for me, right? Instead of executing on what's right in front of them. Now, the good thing about being such a fast-paced, high-growth company is that the org chart is always changing. There are always new opportunities. There's always ways to grow. And there's always going to be new challenges to solve as a business. And always, the people who get those opportunities are the people who are blooming where they're planted. Right? I think you can see, there's so many examples of folks in the company who have done this, who have been selfless, who have maximized the opportunities that are given in front of them. I think one of my favorite examples is with Omer. Obviously, you probably know and have met Omer, and he's one of our first employees here at Self Publishing School. And talk about an example of blooming where you're planted, right? He took over customer success. There was no systems. Bloom where he planted. Made it good. Right? Got it all the way to where he was out of customer success and got promoted, and then took over finance, right? And then in the process of that, we lost some people. He had to go back into customer success. Didn't complain, bloom where he was planted, right? Then he took over operations, right? Then he made finance better so that we could pass them off to someone else. Then he was able to take over the product team, right? And so just continually, he focused on blooming where he's planted. And sometimes for way longer than I knew he wanted to, right? He might be in a role where he only wanted to be in there 6 months, and the company needed him to be there for 10 months, right? And he said, I'm going to bloom where I'm planted. I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity. I'm going to max it out and not pick my eye off the ball, not look up or out, but I'm in this for the long haul, and I'm going to bloom where I'm planted. I know that there will be additional opportunities that are going to come my way, and not just opportunities that are going to magically come my way, but I'm going to create those opportunities by maximizing what's right in front of me. Okay? So I feel like I'm kind of repeating myself at this point. You can probably tell how passionate I am about this topic, because there's nothing that is more inspiring to me than seeing people, and this is just humans in general, outside of SBS, really around the world. And you know the feeling, when you see someone who is doing their job to the best of their ability, and it doesn't matter if they're picking up trash, it doesn't matter if they're cleaning your house. It doesn't matter if they are doing any number of things. And maybe this is just a me thing, but when I see someone doing something to the best of their ability in any role, it's inspiring, right? And not only is it fulfilling for you, because rather than focusing on, oh, how can I get out of this or how can I get promoted, you're being fulfilled and happy where you're at, but it's inspiring to other people to see that. And I think this is one of those things where as humans, if we do this, we really have the power to, it's contagious, right? Other people see that and they're like, oh man, yeah, I need to do this in my area of the world, right? How can I bloom where I'm planted and make this as good as possible? I really think that if everyone did this, we'd change the world. And I know that's like a lofty kind of pie in the sky statement, but I really do believe that. And so I think I kind of got off of my train of thought, but I think, not only is it just powerful for you as an individual, for you in this company, but I really do think it goes to spread kind of way beyond that. So that's obviously why I'm so passionate about this. So, I remember my train of thought. So not only is it inspiring when people do it, but on the flip side, it is my biggest pet peeve when people get in a role and they immediately look past it. They start asking about how they can get promoted. They start, just looking past and not tending to the garden that's in front of them. And as a result, they're going to be in that way longer if they ever get promoted because they're not blooming where they're planted, right? And it doesn't matter if they had to take a pay cut. It doesn't matter if the title is below where they've been at other companies. It doesn't matter any of those things. If they're not willing to bloom where they're planted and work for the good of the team, it's just not going to last. It's not going to work. Okay. So in any moment in time, in any role in the company, self-publishing school, but more importantly in your life and in future jobs and places that and opportunities that you have given to you, you have a choice, and it's a daily choice. Will I or won't I bloom where I'm planted? Okay. So that's the challenge I want to give to you is to bloom where you're planted. Think about these things. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.